Hey, I believe we are live for another edition of Prairie Views, and we're really excited today to have our president and owner on to the show today, Lisa Kramer. So I'm sure there's quite a few of you on the call that have been anxious to hear from her. And even with her reluctance, she is here and she is ready and she is prepared. So, Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell us a little bit about who you are and your role with Prairie.
Okay, well, thanks, Gabe. And I am happy to be here today, but I'm Lisa Kramer and I'm the president of Prairie Engineers. Started Prairie Engineers, incorporated back on August 12th of 2010. So we're coming up on our 15th anniversary this summer. So yeah,
That's a big spot in the history of our company for sure.
It is. It is. It's very exciting. 15 years ago, it was just me, but we've been growing pretty steadily. We're up to 100 people now. We've got 12 offices. We're in 5 states. We do work across 4 markets and 6 disciplines. And there's been a few bumps along the way.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that history. Go all the way back to what would it be? 2010, right?
Yes, correct.
Tell us a little bit about your mindset and like what was going into the beginning of what is now what we know as Prairie Engineers.
It's it's been an exciting ride. So it's been a pretty steady climb, and I'm looking for that to continue. We've been growing all along, and I think we're constantly stepping up to the next level. So we're always looking for those new challenges, looking for more complex projects and expanding our geographic reach. We're constantly growing our staff and adding new capabilities. Winning a new project or gaining a new client or getting reselected by a client for larger projects, it's always a great feeling. But I probably get even more excited by the staff we get to add for our growth. Each person brings their unique skills and personalities, and finding that right fit for our culture and our clients, plus our future growth, it's a challenge that I really love to be involved with.
Did you even think Prairie Engineers would be what it is in 2025 when you had the idea all the way back in 2010?
Probably not. No. I'm glad it is, but no, I don't think I dreamed quite that big, and but it's been a fun time.
Yeah. So talking a little bit about that growth, obviously when you grow as quickly as Prairie has grown, culture changes over time, and there's good things to that. There's some hard things and challenges with that. So maybe speak a little bit about the culture of Prairie like we are today, and how that's important to who we are and what will be in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. We've got an amazing group of people. And the word that always comes to my mind first when people ask me to describe Prairie is flexible. We're flexible with how people work, the hours and days of the week, the location, things like that. But also with the growth, there's always some stretch and flexibility required of our staff. So they're used to that. They're very flexible in how they respond. Everyone's willing to help each other out across disciplines, working on projects they're not familiar with, whatever it takes to get the job done. And because of that flexibility, our people, they're used to working across the geographies, across the disciplines, and they've developed those relationships with one another. So we've really built a high functioning team around that. So again, I think it's a great team. And I think it all starts with that built-in flexibility.
Yeah, and part of that flexibility, and this is a first for me, is having to work with team members that are in different time zones sometimes. So like trying to think ahead about a meeting that, somebody in the Eastern time zone and I'm in the Central time zone, and we have to make those adjustments. But I've been, as a employee, I've been very pleased with how flexible everybody is with their schedule to get things done, to make sure they make a meeting when they need to make the meeting. And that's kind of the culture. It's kind of the air we breathe every day.
It is. It's a challenge, but I think everyone is very accommodating, and it just works.
It does. So a little bit ago, you mentioned the number of offices we have, which we're up to 12 now, and the different states. We're in 5 different states. We have a little over 100 employees. So all those numbers don't mean a whole lot because everybody, has a number of offices, has a number of states. But for us, it begs the question with the number of employees that we have. Why do we have so many offices and why are there only so few employees in each of the offices? Kind of give us a feeling and an idea of what that looks like that's maybe a little bit unique to Prairie.
Well, it is definitely a challenge that we have. Really, our offices have evolved from the employee side much more so than from the client side. When we found new staff that are great additions, but we don't have something close by for them, we've developed an office around that group of people. And we've done that several times. And, I think it's also paid off in being able to grow our client base in those geographies and better serve our clients. But the main driver has really always been the success of that group of people at that location. I do think it's a challenge, though. I started off by saying that we're spread out in multiple offices and we have quite a few fully remote employees across the country. So we, like you said, we're managing time zones and all sorts of things. And we do lots of these Teams calls and lots of screen sharing and that sort of thing. One thing we do is we do have some regular organized Teams events. For example, yesterday we had one of our company update meetings, and we do that once a month, and our various staff members share updates for the entire team. We do a lot of regularly scheduled one-on-one check-ins, and we do small group meetings, and we try to get everybody together in person at least once a year. And I also think everybody does a good job of trying to make their schedules work for in-person get-togethers if they are traveling around the country and might be in the neighborhood of an office or a remote employee, and just try to get together and make those connections.
And I think there's several things you mentioned there. One is that our team, our staff has gotten used to doing meetings and having collaboration and communication virtually. It's something that you get used to pretty quick and you grow accustomed to, which kind of helps overcome that challenge of that team building while you're in various places and various offices. We've adapted that. I think something else, and I don't recall if you mentioned it or not, but like consistent touch bases with the people that you work with the most. I think that's a very important part of our culture that we make sure and stay in touch with each other regularly, talk about projects, talk about initiatives and operations and all that, which, most people who are all working in an office together, you're used to just either having that meeting in the boardroom or you can walk down the hall. And for us, it's more of a, well, let me call this person. And then we have this chat, just kind of like you and I are having right now, virtually.
Yep, it has to be a little more intentional.
Exactly. So you were mentioning the monthly company updates, and those get pretty well attended, and it does help keep everybody on the same page as we move forward month to month. Tell us a little bit about those meetings. Like what all's covered in those meetings? What do we talk about?
Yeah, those are well attended meetings, and they've really grown over the years that we've been doing them. So we share updates over what's really just happened over the last month. We start off, we introduce new staff members that have joined us since the last month. We're talking about events coming up or what we've recently attended. We have updates from our administrative team and marketing team and IT team. And then we go through each of our 4 client markets and talk about project wins and losses, new project pursuits, new clients, things like that. And then we pick 2 of our disciplines each month to go through and talk about achievements within that group too. Sometimes we're talking about a particular project we're working on, sharing client feedback we've received, and that sort of thing. We share how the company is doing financially. We go through our quarterly profit and loss or share KPIs or something along those lines. And again, those meetings are really fun. Lots of kudos go around to the team from everybody, and it's really a lot of fun sharing the individual and the group successes.
Yeah. Yeah, and other thing that I appreciate too, Lisa, is even if I can't make one of those company meetings, they're all recorded.
Yeah.
So I can always go back and watch one after the fact so that everybody in the company, no matter what's going on, has the opportunity to get that information. And that's been very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so kind of moving, we've got probably about 5 minutes left in our 15-minute segment. And this interview's been a little different than some of the other Prairie Views interviews in that, we really wanted to talk specifically about the history of Prairie and a little bit about our growth, and kind of what kind of culture we have. But if you've listened to any of the other Prairie Views, you know that we ask some pretty interesting questions too that are a little outside the realm of normal technical engineering type questions. So we want to get through some of that with Lisa today, but at the same time, we want to respect those who only gave a 15-minute slot to listen to us today. So we're probably going to extend that a little bit today, just so you're prepared, and that's not a problem. If you need to drop off at the 15-minute mark, you can always come back and listen to the recording after the fact. But we want to give Lisa that opportunity to ask some of those or answer some of those really interesting questions that everybody gets to answer. So just wanted to give everybody the heads up. Um, so thinking about your career, Lisa, what's one of the more interesting places that you've either engineered or had a project in?
Yeah, I tried to get prepared for these questions. And yeah, that's kind of a hard one. Most of my work's really been in the Midwest that I've done, and it's hard to pick a favorite or the most interesting because I really do enjoy visiting each site and understanding the challenges of each individual project. And so I don't know that anything really stands out different from the rest, but I really do get excited about the unique characteristics of each and every project. I'm always saying I really want to go back and use this facility or whatever. Thinking about a bike trail I designed in Iowa once upon a time, and so, just to come back and use those facilities in the future.
For sure. I'm sure there's so many that are interesting. It's hard to boil it down, and say, oh, well, this one really sticks out in my mind. It's like there's a lot. You've had a very varied career. There's been a lot of different things that you've worked on. So,
Yeah,
which
very true.
makes your job interesting, right?
It does.
So, like, if there's still a project out there that you've never done, like a dream project, like what kind of a dream project could you imagine that you'd like to work on before your career is ended?
Um, I really enjoy planning studies. So anything where I'm pulling data from multiple sites, having to get really creative in coming up, with places to look and stones to overturn, and investigating a little bit more, and then compiling and presenting that and developing the plan for the future. It's that stuff is fun for me. I think about early on in my career, I did a sewer study, and just getting into really all of the details of everything, and trying to predict what's going to happen in the future, and just things like that I really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, those are, and that's typical for really good engineers. It's like they like to think and plan and strategize. How is this going to work? But not just how's it going to work for next year, but how's it going to work for the next 20 years,
Right.
which is a
Right.
very tall order, right?
It is. You have to get your
Yeah.
crystal ball out.
So can you think of maybe an industry innovation that you wish you had and wish you could implement in your career today?
um Gosh. uh, Something I would like to see is stronger public involvement in projects.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy a lot of my career was spent doing local government work. And I really do enjoy talking with the residents that are getting impacted by that particular project. So I really like to find ways to get the word out, and get engagement and feedback on a project from the people that are actually using that. Um, we're building these projects for the public, so we want to make sure we're listening to their concerns and addressing their needs. So looking for new ways to take in that, constructive feedback and get some higher engagement. That's something I really enjoy working on, and finding some newer and more creative ways of getting that engagement.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're headed there. I mean, obviously there's been innovations over your career that have helped us to get that, but it's still, it
Right.
seems like there's like that baseline just level of public interest to help people understand like how a project's going to impact their lifestyle, how it's going to impact their commute, how it's going to impact their water quality. Like,
Right.
I wish more, like you, I wish more people understood the impact that our projects have, and get their input, get their feedback on what they want.
It's always very satisfying when you can work one-on-one and address concerns. And early in my career, I got some people that reached out to say thank you for the project I'd done. That really made an impact on me.
Yeah, that's great. So that initial 15 minutes has gone by. It goes quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
But we're gonna we're gonna excuse me, we're gonna stay on just a little bit longer, ask a few extra questions for any of you that would like to stay on. So just wanted to respect the time of our listeners and let them know that we are going to extend just a little bit today. So this is one of my favorite questions, and I've asked a lot of people that have been on Prairie Views, and that's if you could switch roles with anybody at Prairie Engineers, who would you switch with for a day, and why?
That's a good question. I probably somebody that's involved in one of those planning projects again, or a modeling project. I feel like I don't get the chance to get deeply engaged in project work much anymore, and I really do kind of miss those times of putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, so that would, and I think a lot of your history was probably in what, state, local, and education markets. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah, really a lot of local government work. A little mix of
Hmm.
everything, but that was kind of my sweet spot.
Yeah. So it'd be nice to get back into one of those PM roles again for a day and really dig into one of those projects, it sounds like.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. What's something that you do on a day-to-day basis that like your friends or family that aren't connected with the company, they just don't get it? Like they don't understand the level of your day-to-day work.
Um, I don't know. I think really just how busy it can be. We are all, especially right now, the industry as a whole is pretty busy. Our company certainly is. I certainly am. I think it's kind of hard to understand that a person's sitting at their desk most of the day and you're just still bombarded by so many things. So I grew up on a farm, kind of a much different climate where you're doing lots of things, but you're not just sitting in one spot. So, but it
Uh,
can be very busy.
yeah, for sure. I remember there was a season where my dad owned a firm, and I remember him saying often, like, he got more work done on Saturday than any other day of the week as
Yeah.
a business owner, because you're dealing with business operational issues all week, people issues and business operational issues and client issues. And it's like if he was going to do any actual engineering, it was only going to happen on Saturday
Yeah.
because that's the
Sadly, that
only
can be
day that
true
no one was
sometimes.
bothering him. Have you found that to be true of you as well in certain seasons?
Sometimes, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So sometimes that does
Yeah.
happen. I do think the uh, non-standard business hours seem to be when things can really get done. Because, like you said, otherwise you're kind of bombarded by those other things.
Yeah, for sure. Um, One of the questions that I'm really interested to hear your answer on is the type of person that really fits in best at Prairie Engineers. I mean, we have a lot of different staff people, and what kind of professional, what kind of staff person you think really fits in with us well?
um, Again, going back to that word flexible, and we are also a growing company. We've always been growing. We plan to continue with that. So I think someone with a growth oriented mindset would fit us well. someone that's eager to take on new challenges, gets excited about the projects and the clients. Our values briefly are a can-do attitude, people-focused, and responsive. And I think that really sums us up pretty well.
Yeah. And having worked here now for, I think, close to 9 months, I love the fact when a company states its values and then actually lives those values out on a day-to-day basis, because we all know there are firms that, they have the values on the wall, but then, the employees kind of snicker because they're like, yeah, that's not really who we are. But I can say, with all confidence that looking at those values and seeing how people have operated since I've been here, that's absolutely true. I think that's a very good reflection of who we are as a company. So that makes me happy to work here. We are who we say we are, and that's always good. Is there anything, this isn't a prepared question, but I just want to make sure that you have opportunity if there's anything else that you'd like to tell folks, or especially folks within our firm that are listening, and then even those outside of our firm, maybe clients or potential employees that may be looking for a change in their career. Anything you want to leave them with?
I guess I would say we're a pretty open book. We try to be transparent with everyone. So, definitely if you've got questions on your mind, definitely just come and talk with us. Talk with other staff members. I like hearing the feedback, and again, we've got a great group of people and a great culture, and just looking for ambitious people looking to grow their career along with the company.
Well, Lisa, it's been great to visit with you today. It's great. I loved your answers. I loved hearing about the history of the company, and I really appreciate you being on. And maybe we'll have you on again before the end of the year if I can talk you into it. So, so this is Prairie Views. Yeah, that was intentional. This is Prairie Views, where all the engineers are strong, all the land surveyors are good looking, and all the scientists are above average. So thanks for being with us, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.